Hi there folks, welcome back to Rich Review. So I'm going to finally put out my top 10 films of the year, folks. Now these films are not necessarily the best films of the year, but they're certainly made into my top 10. Let me just say here, folks, I didn't get to everything this year. Some days I just came home from work and I was too burned out to review a film or watch a film. And some films I thought were going to be great were just utterly nothing. Honorable mentions this year go to 7852 Hitchcock shower scene, 22nd July, The House That Jack Built, Ready Player One, and My Dinner with Herb. Let's get on with the top 10 here, folks. My number 10 on this list here is Halloween. I feel like this is the first time since the first film that we get a serious treatment of what happens to someone 40 years later after the events of the first film. Let me confess, I'm actually partially a fan of H2O, but that's just me. In which we finally come to understand, oh yeah, the serious trauma that Laurie Strode faced all those years ago and how the events of that night affect her family. Our family finally has to come to accept, oh yeah, there's an unimaginable evil right there, we have to go feed it. And how, quite frankly, I just feel like saying, don't make a sequel. I know this made money, I know this is Blumhouse, but don't make a sequel. The way this film ends is perfect. Don't make a sequel, folks. My number 9 here on this list here is Deadpool 2. Here's the thing, folks, this would have been higher on my list, although I just decided not to knock it down. Most films this year took an effort to watch. It felt like a job to actually watch these films and have to review them. Not Deadpool 2. Maybe I just have lower standards. Maybe I just feel like, oh yes, have a random sequel on this top 10 list. And how I think Yessie Beast is the new girl that I feel like I could do 10 Ways to Sundays with. I like Josh Brolin in this role. I feel like Deadpool 2, I feel like his wisecracks are better even the first time around. Anytime an action open sequence is with a song that goes from 9 to 5, that's fascinating to me. Number 8 on this list here, folks, is Three Identical Strangers. This is a very fascinating documentary. Now, there are 3 documentaries. This is one of them, in which, oh yes, a person arrives to school, tells you, hey, look, you might have a twin brother, then comes out to discover, oh yeah, you're triplets, and how this affects each other's families, and how you think just to yourself, okay, this is going to be a heartwarming tale of, oh yeah, 3 brothers reuniting, but sadly it goes to a sharp left. And how some guys have said to himself, okay, I'm going to create a sociological experiment and let's see how it plays out, and how this study has never been revealed or published, and how at least one guy says, hey look, yes, I know what I did was stupid. Number 7 on this list here, folks, is First Man. I feel like Damien Chazelle makes a proper follow-up to his La La Land film. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, why is there a whole bunch of white people in this film? Well, that's how it was back then. There was no diversity in NASA, or if there was, they were out in the margins. And how, quite frankly, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like the shaky cam. Well, I don't have a problem with the shaky cam. I think it's an awesome experience. Like, there was also a Mission to Mars ride that does the same thing. Shows you the G-force and how basically people will get heart attacks on that ride, but also impacts the lives of people near as close to you, such as Claire Foy as his wife. I feel like it's an excellent exploration of how we got to the moon, how we haven't been back to the moon since after 1970 or so. Here's my hope that we eventually go to Mars, or at least go back to the moon sometime in the near future. Again, this just shows you how basically Neil Armstrong was a cipher and remains a cipher. Yes, my number 6 on this list here is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I haven't felt this way about Spider-Man films since probably the Raimi Spider-Man films, and how everything since then has just gone downhill. Although I did kind of admire Homecoming, and how, quite frankly, hey, look, if you're going to do a Kingpin voice, Lee Schreiber is the way to go. And how I feel like, again, I'm not a big anime fan, folks. That's just how I am. That's how I'm hardwired to be. But hey, look, I enjoy this film. I guess there are talks to make a Spider-Ham film. That's fascinating. I want Spider-Gwen. That's one thing. Haley Steinfeld, to me, granted, I could date Haley Steinfeld if I wished. My number 5 on this list here is Paterno. Again, this came out on HBO earlier on the year. Most people may not have seen this, but I implore you folks to see this, folks. Al Pacino does a reasonably good job. I think one of the greatest things it shows you is how a whole bunch of people took their jobs over the fact that, oh yeah, there's a monster in their midst who's abusing children. And of course, oh look, it comes even more off the heels of the fact that, oh yeah, Pittsburgh Architis is abusing children. How many more revelations about people abusing children will there be in the near future? But I just feel like, oh yeah, also it's a very fascinating take on journalism as well. It's probably one of the more better journalism films that come out in recent years. Oh yeah, and this one played by Riley Koch in her early 20s wins the Pulitzer Prize. Show me an early 20 person that actually is doing that. Number 4 on this list is Avengers Infinity War. Again, 10 years ago I was in college. And I saw Iron Man, I think actually at home before I went back to summer session. And, 10 years later, we get Avengers Infinity War, and how I don't know what's Avengers Endgame is going to be like, but I know this is a culmination of 10 years worth of work, and how, quite frankly, this could have easily been without Thanos, but hey look, Thanos, we finally get, he's bad, he's purple, and that's how it is with me. Again, in 10 years, I've gone from a rabid superhero film fan to one that's saying, like, I can take maybe 1 or 2 a year. My number 3 on this list here, folks, is If Beale Street Could Talk. This basically occupies the real world, where basically Atticus Finch is a fictional character, and most people take plea bargains in order to avoid trial of particularly black people because they don't have to go up against all a white jury. And how easily these people could also occupy a Woody Allen's New York, and we also, therefore, it's a stark different contrast. Because, hey, look, if it was anything like Law and Order, the courts would just utterly collapse. And how I truly feel that Moonlight didn't deserve to win. I hope this is nominated for Best Picture, and hopefully this should win. Regina King should be rewarded at Oscar time for her performance. How I think the dialogue is so rich, particularly a handful of scenes that are just absolutely riveting. The narration here is absolutely wonderful. My number 2 film on this list here, folks, for Best Film of the Year is They Shall Not Grow Old, and this is Peter Jackson's direction here. He decided he was going to scour the British National Archives for footage that has never been seen before, colorize them, and create sound effects, and the result is wonderful. We'll be revisiting this for the 100th anniversary of the end of World War II. Who knows? Considering it's only about 20 years off. Can you believe that, actually? Yeah, so, and also the fact that, yes, these people, wow, they came home to realize, hey, look, their lives inexplicably changed, that they came back at all, and how the carnage of that war proved that, hey, look, basically we're able to do things that no man is able to do to another person. This film should be seen in theaters, not on a computer. My number 1 on this list here is Won't You Be My Neighbor? And in a world in which it's getting increasingly toxic, Mr. Rogers is a reminder of how good the person in us can be. One person says in this film, oh, there are plenty of Mr. Rogers out there. I wish those people would be standing up and counting, because we desperately need a Mr. Rogers right now, although could Mr. Rogers show exist in the 21st century? No, because quite frankly they come off as creepy and almost a pedophile, I guess. Sorry to say that. But I feel like Mr. Rogers is the culmination of someone who truly cared for children. That is awesome. So folks, my top 10 list, what did you think about it? Please put everything in the comment box below. I'll be back next time with something new. As always, folks, like, comment, subscribe, enrich yourself with knowledge. I'll see you next time, folks. Yes, hooray.